This is a stone statue in Fortnite. It was a recent addition to the game, and you can find this statue by going to Tomato Temple, and just outside of it there's a collection of rocks in a kind of formation, and in the center of it is this massive statue that appears to move according to some images and video footage. As you can see on screen right now, the statue seems to have its arms or its hands up to its face as if it's crying, or it's got its hands over its head as if to hide away from something or to look scared or sad. And that is because I believe that this statue is trying to warn us about something happening at Polar Peak. As you guys know, everything to do with Season 7 is revolving around Polar Peak. The iceberg melting, the dragon eggs, all this other stuff, the Infinity Blade limited time mode, everything is revolving around Polar Peak. And now we have this massive statue that could potentially be trying to warn us about the dangers at Polar Peak, or be signalling the start of a new major event in Fortnite Battle Royale. Now, the reason for this statue's movements is unknown as of this point. No other rock formation in the map, no other natural occurring item like trees or rocks or anything else moves in the way that this does. This is a purposefully constructed golem of some sort that moves on its own. No one is replacing anything. It's not some sort of robotic mechanism. It's just a bunch of rocks that move. Now, the reason for this is unknown. There's no backstory or no reasoning to this, but I believe that partially it has to do with the cube. As you guys remember, the cube came into the map, it moved around the Fortnite map, it created a whole host of events that happened, and I believe that some sort of minor cube energy has remained and is making this statue move. We might even see the return of the cube at some point in some fashion. Maybe this is all linked and connected, but the only explanation that I can think of as to why this statue is moving is because of the cube. The cube had magical properties, it made you bounce off of it, it fired lightning bolts, it made a whole island float in the map over at Loot Lake. So I believe that some of the cube's energy has stayed behind and is animating this statue and is acting as a kind of conduit to warn us about the events happening at Polar Peak. Now, the reason why I believe it's to do with Polar Peak is because this statue moves into different positions. This one that you can see on screen where it's got its hands up to its face, and the other one which I'll put on screen right now, which is it kind of pointing in a certain direction. You can see that it's one of its arms is by its side, and the other arm is outstretched, pointing in a certain direction. If we look at the position of this golem, if I go up to this statue and I look at the direction where its body is kind of facing, it's directly facing towards Polar Peak. It's facing towards the iceberg. Now, the only thing that appears to move on this statue are its arms and the head. Nowhere else seems to move. It doesn't move from its spot. It doesn't turn too much. So the only thing that I can see that's moving are its arms and head. So that means that the position of the main body of the statue remains the same. So I can only assume that when it's in this pointing position, it's pointing over towards the iceberg. Because if we line it up, how I am with this camera, you can see that when the statue is pointing, you can see that in the direction of where its body is facing, it's going towards the direction of Polar Peak. So maybe it's trying to warn us about an event that's coming. There's no other statue of this type that's been found. This is the only one. There's no other connection to anything else. It's a standalone thing. There's not a kind of collection of them. There's not multiple versions of this statue spread across the map. This is the only one by Tomato Temple that we can see so far, and it appears to be pointing in the direction of Polar Peak. What this signifies, we have no idea. There is no proof or, leaked information as of yet to tie in Polar Peak to this statue, other than the fact that it's pointing towards it. And I'm really curious to see if we'll be seeing the cube return to Fortnite in some way, because that is the only rational explanation that I can think of in my head as to why this statue is moving in the first place. Because why else would it move? There's no other reason as to why it would move. It's not in the snowy area of the map. It's not covered in snow. It's not in any way linked to Polar Peak in terms of the theme or the kind of aesthetic that Season 7 is going for. It's just out here in the open, on, you know, near the opposite side of the map, pointing towards Polar Peak, trying to tell us something. So we'll just have to wait and see to find out what's happening here. But I do believe that the cube, or something to do with the cube, will be making a return to Fortnite sometime soon. Or maybe even the statue will do something more. Because as of right now, the only thing that the statue does is move its head and move its arms and point and everything. But maybe as we get closer to this major event, the statue starts to move, kind of like a weeping angel in Doctor Who. A weeping angel was a villain in the show Doctor Who, where if you looked at it, nothing would happen. But as soon as you turn away and turn back again, it moves. So maybe over the weeks, over the days of Fortnite, the statue will slowly start to move its position and perhaps move towards the castle, you know, to kind of warn us about it, to kind of defend us against it. Because looking at the positioning of, you know, the statue's rocks and everything, it seems to be sad or worried or scared, and he's pointing towards Polar Peak. So I believe the statue is on our side, or at the very least the statue is scared of what's happening. So if it does stop moving, which some people have speculated, I believe that it will go over there to try and stop what's happening, or try and prevent you know, maybe the dragon eggs from hatching, or maybe the Ice King. He's trying to stop the Ice King from doing anything. But we'll just have to wait and see. And those are just my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below, because I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. I do believe that the cube is influencing this statue in some way. I do believe that the statue is pointing towards Polar Peak due to how it's positioned. The direction of the statue's positioning of the body is facing towards Polar Peak. So it all kind of lines up in my book, but obviously we don't know as of yet. I'll try and keep you guys updated with any new information in Fortnite Battle Royale. So if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and with that, my name has been Silly Cozzy, and I will see each and every one of you in my next video. Goodbye, guys.